Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Joseph P. Farrell with news and views from the Nefarium on Thursday, February 7th, 2013. We are beyond Thunderdome by a month and a week now. So I have a bit of news, but first some announcements. First announcement is Georgianne did have her cataract eye surgery this morning, my friend Georgianne Hughes. She is back home. She says she's having to wear an eye patch. She's fine. She's resting. So I thank you all for your prayers. I'll keep you updated. She does have to go back tomorrow to have the eye checked, and then they're going to schedule the other eye. So she's got one more eye to go. Please keep her in your prayers, and I do appreciate all of you who were so generous and helped her raise the money for the eye surgery. She survives on next to nothing, trust me. And I want to extend my word of thanks to you for looking out for her and for keeping her show on the air. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is obviously I have managed to fix the computer for the moment. So we will be having the members vid chat tomorrow night. I'm going to be busy with the situation, I think, in over the next 2 to 4 weeks. So this means that until that situation settles, the members vid chats may or may not occur. So please check my Facebook wall and check the event calendar on the website to make sure that the vid chats that are scheduled are going to occur. Some things have come up, and it's going to require yet again another reshuffling. So this will be a busy time for me. I want everybody to be aware of that. All right, now we have some interesting news, and this was actually sent to me, pardon me, by my co-author in the Transhumanism book, Dr. DeHart. And then almost as soon as he sent this to me, and I read it and I thought, oh, wow. And almost as soon as he sent this to me, a lot of you sent me this story or similar stories from other news media outlets. But this one, of course, is being reported by our good friends at RT, at Russia Today. And the title of it says it all. The title is Federal Reserve Data Hacked by Anonymous. And let me read a couple of paragraphs here because I want to indulge in my usual wild, high-octane speculation. All right? It says, quote, currently, the Fed maintains that the incident was mild in nature. Now, please note that, underscore that, and bear that in mind as we proceed. Continuing in the quotation. The Fed maintains the incident was mild in nature and, quote, did not affect critical operations, unquote, of the bank and has been resolved. An admission from the Fed does suggest, however, that hackers are capable of compromising data that is presumably well protected. During Sunday's Super Bowl, the Twitter account at @OpLastResort announced that personal information pertaining to thousands of banking executives had been obtained. And a tweet directing followers to a hacked Alabama Criminal Justice Information Center website linked the data. Now the Fed says that an emergency notification system was indeed breached, thus compromising private but not necessarily secret usernames, phone numbers, and other credentials stored on the server. The exploit, admits the Fed, allowed for the release of user contact data stored within its Emergency Communications System, or ECS, quote, a system used by the Federal Reserve and state banking departments to notify depository institutions of operational status in the event of natural or other disasters, unquote. Quote, information obtained from registrants consisted of mailing addresses, business phone, mobile phone, business email, and fax. Some registrants also included optional information consisting of home phone and personal email. Despite claims to the contrary, passwords were not compromised, but nonetheless have been reset as a precautionary measure, unquote, continues a spokesman for the St. Louis Federal Reserve in a statement first obtained by ZDNet, unquote. Now, folks, obviously, this breach is not mild in nature. This is the emergency contact list, apparently, of the entire U.S. Federal Reserve System. So in other words, that has been breached. Now, Anonymous here is being credited with the event. And I want to set this in the context of everything else that we've been tracking, at least on this website. And that context is, of course, first of all, the bearer bonds scandals, the recent calls for repatriation of gold from the Federal Reserve, principally by Germany, which of course really set the whole rush off. And then finally, I want to talk about it in terms of the thesis that I advanced in my most recent book, Covert Wars and Breakaway Civilizations. And that thesis was that because of the establishment of this vast post-war political operation, slush fund, black budget for secret research, and so on, because of the establishment of that fraudulent system of finance, what really happened was that Western intelligence, and principally American intelligence, or some element within it, became deeply involved on its own, as its own entity, in international banking. In other words, you've got the central bankers, in other words, at the top of this power pyramid, but now they have competition, and that competition has access to some very sophisticated equipment, technology, and an international mechanism of intelligence, just as if the equal, if not more so, of the central bankers themselves, and that, of course, is the intelligence services. Now, the real question here is, who then really is behind Anonymous? Why is this being done? And we can play out any number of scenarios. The first scenario would be, obviously, that Anonymous is the creation or the agency of a foreign power. And in this case, I would suggest that it's likely that it would be either Russia or China, or perhaps those two nations acting in concert to set up this international hacktivist group, if we can call it that, and do so behind the meme of freedom of speech and so on and so forth, access to the internet. Now, if that's the case, then this action would be yet another signal in the emergency currency wars that we've been talking about on the website. This would be a way of gaining access to the Federal Reserve System, finding out exactly what's in it, and who the contacts and emergency network are. This would be crucial information for any foreign nation indulging or contemplating an upcoming emergency economic or currency war. So from that standpoint, this breakthrough makes sense. Now let's look at it from another standpoint. Let's look at it from the standpoint of the recent, pardon me, I'm still suffering from sinus. Let's look at it from the recent standpoint of the gold repatriation calls, and principally Germany. By now, I think it is apparent to almost anyone who's been tracking this story that the amount of actually existing gold, particularly gold in reserves, is badly and massively obfuscated. I don't think it is fair to say that anyone really has a good idea. How much gold is in existence may vary as much as an order, or even possibly two, in magnitude. We simply don't know. And the reason is you have all of that post-World War II gold from the Nazis and the Japanese Operation Golden Lily that made its way into this secret system of finance in the post-war West. So we don't know actually, how much gold there really may be. All we have are guesstimates. Now, the second part of that scenario, as I've been advancing and as I argued in Covert Wars and Breakaway Civilizations, was that this gold has been rehypothecated so many times that no one really knows who, at the end, the gold really belongs to. So I suspect that in that scenario, Anonymous may be, again, the cat's paw for a foreign power, possibly a European power like Germany with good intelligence connections and so on, or again, possibly in concert with Russia and China, to get inside the Fed, to test the Fed, to send signals to the West that we can get inside your most secretive financial institutions and find out who your network is in case of a financial emergency. All right. Now that's pretty sophisticated. That means they might be snooping also for information ultimately on how much gold the Fed actually has and who it's hypothecated to, who it's leased to. That is the most crucial information. Now, as you know, the Fed has been less than forthcoming, so most likely that scenario is also a possibility. Now, the final possibility I want to toss out there is probably the most wild and speculative of them all, and that is that Anonymous is the creation of Western intelligence services, CIA, MI5, MI6, BND, Sûreté, SISMI in Italy, and so on. And that as such it represents a covert pardon me, a covert operation of NATO. All right? If that's the case, then this is an evidence of possible factional infighting between the financial powers in the West and the military intelligence powers. They're once again signaling to the central bankers, or would be signaling if that scenario is true, are signaling to the central bankers that we are the ones ultimately in control of this financial system, not you. All right? So any of these scenarios is a possibility, but for the moment, my bet, my guess, my intuition, and that's all this really is, folks, is a guess or an intuition, is that one of the first two scenarios is the most likely possibility, that this is the action of a foreign power or powers. They're trying to figure out the financial planning in case of an emergency, a financial emergency in the West. They're also trying to scope out how much, or send signals about how much they can do, and as a final possibility, trying to ferret out what the mystery is surrounding all the Federal Reserve and its supposed gold reserves. All right? So this is a very important story. I think that if any of these speculations is true, and I'll link this RT article for you, if any of these speculations is true, then once again we have to look at Russia and China and Germany in particular, and the sorts of financial moves they now begin to make. And particularly, we're going to have to scrutinize very closely their relationships with central banks like the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland, and also with the Bank of England and the U.S. Federal Reserve. This is an interesting story, and I present those speculations for you because I think that unless we start thinking in terms of the wider context of all the financial wheelings and dealings and misdeeds that we've seen, not only in the past decade, but really going all the way back to the post-war period after World War II, unless we consider that context, the individual financial stories that we're looking at aren't going to make much sense. We have to learn to start connecting the dots. All right, that's it for my news and views from the Nefarium for this week, February 7th, 2013. Again, please keep Georgianne in your prayers. My thanks to my co-author, Scott DeHart, for bringing that Russian TV article to my attention. And I want to wish everybody a good weekend. Remember, keep it posted here and look for any changes in the members' VidChat schedules over the next 4 weeks. Bye-bye, everybody. See you on the flip side. God bless.